hadn't seen before, and it feels like this is right, this is natural, this is the way I should be. In a lot of cases, like for example with zakat or helping people out, at first I had to make a very sort of conscious effort of, okay, I'm doing this because I'm supposed to do this. I just wasn't the kind of person that, I had no problem with giving people to, or giving money to people who are poor and that sort of thing, but it just wasn't something that I did. And so then I made, okay, I'm going to do this because I have to. And once I started doing that, I realized, this is what we're supposed to be doing. I felt so much better after having done those things. Like, I guess it was, the only way I can kind of describe it is that my soul was happy. Like, when you get money or, something nice happens, or like you get some material gain or something like that, you feel happy. But it's kind of a superficial happiness that, that's all I kind of knew before. And once I started doing these, or when I would, turn away from some temptation or something, I would feel this kind of overwhelming joy and comfort. Almost like what people might describe as love. It's really like intoxicating, and it makes you feel like a much more wholesome joy. And so a lot of my life has been like that sense of really, feeling that this is much better, and feeling almost relief that I've turned away from shirk and from all these practices, these ignorant practices that are against my nature.
Now, given your experiences and what you've seen and been through on your journey, how would you give da'wah to other non-Muslims, or how we as Muslims should be sending the message of Islam to other people?
Well, I can only speak from my personal experience. There's countless ways of giving da'wah, and everyone has their own opinion, and I don't know what's right, but my personal opinion is based on my own experience and how I came to Islam, and it's catered towards the kind of society of which I'm a part, which is university students, intellectuals, at an early point in their life, in North American background and that sort of thing. But I find it just, I guess, a passive da'wah of presenting yourself as a Muslim and living as a good Muslim should in front of these people, not constantly rebuking them and telling them this and that, you should be doing this, but just being a Muslim in front of them and still interacting with them and socializing with them and being with them as you would be with any friend, as long as it's nothing that's haram, but and that will make them comfortable with Islam. Okay, he's not a terrorist, he's not someone who worships the moon or anything weird like that. And then they kind of get interested, and then they ask questions. And I've experienced this on several occasions where people will come up to me and ask me, what's this Quran about? Can you read me something out of it? Or what made you change? What made you, oh, well, let me tell you. Yeah. And so when people come to you and ask you, they're ready for the information, they're ready to kind of accept information in a less biased manner. Whereas if you're telling them, you get very defensive and the shield goes up and they're like, oh. So I think just the soft sell, just present yourself and allow them to come to you, seems to be what works best in my opinion.
It's said that the Prophet ﷺ was, his actions were the Quran. What he did in his behavior was exemplary of the characteristics of how Muslims should be. And I think that touches on how we as Muslims should send the message of Islam. Basically, do the things we have to do and go your life doing exactly what Islam asks of you. And inshallah, people will see that and see that light. As a final question, what advice do you have for those people who are thinking of becoming as Muslim? Because you had mentioned earlier that there's a phase which is individualistic. What should they do within themselves before they come to Islam?
Well, I guess the first step, if they haven't done it, is to read the Quran. It's, for me, before that, it was just sort of like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But once I read the Quran, that's really the core of the way of life Islam is the Quran. You know, and question yourself while you're reading the Quran. You know, does everything make sense? Does this, you know, is there anything that doesn't jive with what I know of life or my experiences, or any sort of, you know, if they're Christians or Jews, or, you know, what I know of. And then beyond that, I don't know. I mean, I think I want to say sort of trust the practice of Islam, trust the people of Islam in their practices, because, you know, I've investigated them. I've found that, you know, with every practice, it has a very strong connection to the revelation, to the practices of the Prophet. But I think that's something that people have to do themselves. I mean, you have to do that investigation yourself. You have to become comfortable with that yourself. So, you know, question it freely, absolutely. You know, seek the answers, because they're there, and I guarantee you will not be, you'll not find the answers lacking.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Now that the month of Ramadan is here, how are you enjoying Ramadan? And I see you at the mosque sometimes. How are you enjoying this whole?
Sometimes, all the time. Wonderful. It's. I started fasting right away, but, you know, each time it's been much better, and perhaps slightly more sincere each time. But also, you know, I'll do more. Like last Ramadan, I did Taraweeh for the first time, and then you know, I'm doing Tahajjud for the first time, and so each step is, you know, getting more and more out of it, and it's definitely a wonderful time.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, and may Allah give us hidayah on the straight path of Islam. And thank you for joining us. Assalamu alaikum.